Hi guys, here from the Central Bank of Georgia. It's actually called the National Bank of Georgia. It's in the main public administration building. It's also part of this, you see the Ukrainian flag is up there. They are standing in solidarity with Ukraine. Georgia is a very pro-Ukrainian country, even when they are very careful. But my text here is about, my call is for the euro for Georgia. We need to make sure that Ukraine, by the way, Moldova and Georgia, all together, they adopt the euro now, the same as we did the post-war currency policy in the Balkans. Yeah? Especially Kosovo and Ukraine and Montenegro are the role models here, and it's absolutely necessary that Georgia, Ukraine and Moldova get euroized immediately. The currency is a very good currency in principle because there was reforms done from 2004 onwards, and there is, you know, it's of course, I know it's difficult because you can say, oh no, we want to have our lari, the lari is so good, the lari is fantastic. But in these global shifts of currencies, yeah, of course the lari has never gone down as badly as the hryvnia, yeah, or even worse, the Belarusian ruble. Yeah. No, it's a decent currency and you might, in a perfect world, live with it. And then you join the European Union, and then you fulfill the convergence criteria, and then you are in the Eurozone in whatever 2050. That's the scenario of conventional economics, and the EU accession I understand very well. But you know, the world is not perfect and the situation is dramatically changed. Yeah? The dollar is rising against the euro. Europe is basically at war with Russia, even when we have not conceded that fact. Yeah? And of course it's very difficult economically for the peripheral economies here of Georgia, Ukraine. Of course Ukraine, anyhow, it's a very distinct case now under the hammer blows of the Russian aggression. How should they have an independent currency policy? It's now 5 billion euro the subsidy, dollar, the subsidy necessities for Ukraine just to keep Ukraine running. There can be no hryvnia after the war, I'll be sure about it. But also for Georgia. Look, it's now 3-1, I was explained yesterday. It has lost another significant 30% the value in the war of the Georgian lari towards the dollar, a bit less to the euro, because we lost also value towards the dollar. So the situation is dramatic. And what should be the reason for independent currency policy? Let's not forget, also Bosnia has a back to the euro, also Macedonia has a back, also Bulgaria, also all 3 Baltic countries had a back to the euro. And they are also in the eurozone now. But the independent currency policy of Moldova, Ukraine and Georgia, and there's only, to my best knowledge, Albania is the only country which has a floating currency. But it's a big strategic mistake. Yeah? It shouldn't be done. And it absolutely failed. The idea of, you know, that's in economic theory, I know that as well. The idea you need to have reflective and flexible currencies, and you know, it's absolutely nonsense when you are so closely integrated to one big market where you anyhow fully depend on. And it's a big mistake. I can just repeat it. There is the following advantages of having the euro in Georgia. First of all, you end the currency risk. Secondly, you have investment security for your domestic and international investors. Then you have price transparency. That's very important. And by the way, it's not true that everything gets more expensive, because the prices are reflective not of the currency, but of the relation between the economic actors in a country and your international trade position. And if you want to be anyhow fully integrated in the European Union, it's much better to end the exchange rate risk and then also have lower interest rates and lower inflation, and of course the security for the especially European but also for the international investors, that your politicians are no longer in charge of the currency policy. Much better. The politicians are not competent. The independence of the central bank in small countries is simply not working, because the governor is appointed by the politicians. So he will have a mandate, yes, he will try to do his best, but in reality he is always then under immense political pressures. and it is not really effective form of managing a currency. So the euro for Georgia is the better policy. And here in front of the central bank I make my 9th video. I was now at all the central banks and made a similar video from Bosnia to Macedonia to Serbia. I was there as well, even when they didn't like it, to Georgia as well, and I concede Georgia is probably the best managed currency. Georgia is in many ways the political most successful and economically best reformed country. But nevertheless, for a country of 3.5 million with the size of a GDP like Georgia, why to have a own currency? Don't you know we have the euro? And it's also not good to work in the dollar terms. Yeah, that's far away. Yeah, it's good to be part of the global economy, but if you want to be part of the European economy with our regulatory alignment, our internal market, our customs union, and you should be, I'm coming for that, then you must be with the euro. And that's of course much better for everybody involved. Yeah? And it's not hard for the poor people, no. The policy of constant devaluation is robbing the people of their savings. It's making the life much more difficult to come up and to have social mobility. Currency stability is the best social measure, and it's also the best anti-corruption measure, because the financial system is of course then out of the hand of the politicians in many aspects. Yeah? Of course they have still a lot of power, and that's not good, but you know, with a currency which you basically import, you lose some seigniorage effects. I learned that one as well. You lose some sovereignty, but that's the idea of a European Union, that you're no longer sovereign in the classical sense, but you are part of something bigger, a part of a union. And if you want that, and I see European flags everywhere here at the central bank, at this public administration building, then the logic is, and your monetary sovereignty, and then you import it only, and maybe there can be some advisory function for all the aligned currencies, the adopters. I would recommend that Kosovo, Montenegro, all the Balkans, Ukraine, Georgia, to have also a kind of a Euro Council advisory status to the central bank. Of course you will not dominate European monetary policy. Even the Germans don't do. Even the French don't do. Nobody does, because it's more or less independent, and of course there's a big debate how well it is governed, but it's much better governed than everything else we ever had in Europe, and we will ever have. So let's join but adopt the euro. Let's start with a currency peg, and let's do that. Please, dear managers and board of the governors of the Central Bank of Georgia, your currency policy, I know it's hard to concede, but it has completely failed, and it is not good enough. And if you want to join the European Union, then show it also and impose the euro on your population. It's a signal for Russia that they have lost here. It's a signal also to your population that you are very determined and serious. It's a signal as well for the Europeans who are a little bit reluctant to let you in the European Union, that this is the way forward. And I can just say there is no better policy. And if Ukraine and Moldova do it together, you make the clear sign that you are ready for Europe. And that's, in my view, by far the very best policy you can do, economically, strategically, politically, and from the side of European integration. And if Frankfurt, Berlin and Brussels go crazy berserk with it, okay, they are anyhow not extremely supportive these days. And it's much better to impose yourself on Brussels than just to wait for better times. So it's the euro for Georgia. Please, it's time to adopt the euro. Thanks a lot. Bye.